break or I'ma have a flashback. Digging through the dresser like fucking where my mask at. Then mash back with the banger and damage shit and say fuck everything I learned in anger management. Hop back on some east side banning shit and push a nigga's top back when I let the cannon spit. Start planning shit, premeditation. I'm in love with the streets again, rededication.
Say what's cracking, YouTube? It's your boy 16 to life, and I'm back like I'm on a parole violation. Yard down. Now, for those of y'all that's new to my page, in 1994, I got arrested. I was eventually sentenced to 16 years plus life, and I ended up doing 24 straight in the California prison system. During those times, I accumulated some good stories and also some good insight on prison, and we gonna hop into that today. In the event you happen to like this interview, then definitely be sure to hit that like button, leave a comment, also subscribe to my channel. And if you haven't yet, hit that notification bell. That way anytime I drop a story, you will be notified ASAP, and you can hop on that thing whenever you're ready. Now today, we got Zoe. Zoe, he has a YouTube channel called The Banger'S Life Coach. So y'all definitely be sure to check that out. Hey Zoe, go ahead and introduce yourself to the folks.
What up, YouTube? My name is Zoe, also known as Coach Zoe, and my channel is the Banger'S Life Coach. And what I bring to the table is something different than what everybody else is bringing. I'm bringing a little something more so, just breaking down what gangbanging is like for all y'all that's out there just trying to be gang members. They never really been gang members, but want to be gang members. So if you want to know more about my content, what I'm dropping, check me out, the Banger'S Life Coach.
Also, Zoe, let them know about the apparel that we rocking here, the wrong enemy.
Oh, for sure that. This is my brand right here. I started this right before I got out of prison like 5 years ago, Wrong Enemy. And what wrong enemy mean, despite our differences, despite what people tell you when you was growing up in the streets, whatever people told you I was your enemy because I come from over here and you come from over there, don't believe that shit. Get to know me first before you judge me. So that's what wrong enemy mean. Also, don't start none, won't be none.
Hey, that's deep right there. So, Zoe, tell us, where did you grow up at? Give us a little, background history.
I grew up all over LA, but in particular, I grew up in the South Inglewood area, also known as, we call it Inglewatts. I grew up over there off 104th and Prairie. I ran around 102nd and Prairie. So y'all that know the streets of LA, y'all know what that is over there. Like I said, I've been all over LA, but that's where I come from. That's my home right there, South Inglewood right there.
So I guess since you got a channel that's called the Banger'S Life Coach, at one time did you participate in gangbanging or street activity?
Definitely, bro. It was really active in the 80s. I grew up in the 80s at a time where the crack era was going on. I grew up at a time when we opened up World on Wheels skating ring, Uncle Jam's Army, all that type of shit. So, I was out there, man. I was banging. I was with the shits. You know what I mean? That was the life we lived. You know what I mean? Just in the streets of LA. Been banging since I was young. I started claiming my hood in the 6th grade. So I've been with this shit a long ass time, bro. Long ass time.
Now you mentioned the World on Wheels skating ring, and
Yeah.
I'm not extremely familiar with it myself, but
Really?
I've heard that was a cracking spot, especially as far as gangbanging goes. So give us a little bit about that. What was going on at that spot?
Well, all right. So, okay, I started skating at a skating rink called the Arlington Skating Ring. Used to be on Arlington and Washington. All this is West LA over here. So I think they opened up World on Wheels probably like 82, 83. So when World on Wheels opened up, everybody went there. That was the spot that we went to. All the gang members, everybody went there. We were skating. So at the same time, but before World on Wheels was Uncle Jam's Army. Uncle Jam's Army was something out here in the early 80s where all the gang members seemed to be functioning. For some reason, though, I never remember no Bloods being there. They probably was there, but I know it was a bunch of Crips, and the Crips was always getting into it with each other. So I come up in that era during the whole Battle Ram era, all the 80s. I was banging in the 80s. I was in the streets. I was active. I was really out there. I wasn't somebody on the porch. I was in the streets, bro. I've done that shit.
So when you say they was getting into it, what was the activities? Was they fist fighting, or was they squabbing, or was they busting?
A little bit of both, man. I remember a couple squabbles inside, man, and at the time I think it was something going on. I don't know if some of the homies from East Coast. I don't know if it's them in the Harlems, but it was. I think the Hoovers might have been in there, but it was always friction in there. There was always a fight or something in Uncle Jam's. And after that, it was an AM/PM across the street on the corner right there. And then I remember a couple shots, a couple times. It was busting outside, but on the most part, that's where everybody was at. In the early '80s, even the mid '80s, Uncle Jam's Army was cracking in the city. Everybody that was gang banging back then, especially on the west side, anything from Broadway back, for sure. Participating in that, but the homies on the east side was there too. The East Coast was there, Gray Streets, everybody else was there too. So it was just like Uncle Jam's Army was more like a damn gathering, bro, for like people, everybody just, not just gang members, I mean, because at that time, that's when we was doing that dance called the Freak. You know what I mean? Uncle Jam's Army, for people that don't know what Uncle Jam's Army is, Uncle Jam's Army was concert promoters. That's where Egyptian Lover, all them come from, Battle Cat, all these cats was part of this party promotion things. They was throwing parties. These cats was throwing parties in the LA sports arena. The sports arena, look, they brought the Clippers to LA in '84. When they first brought the Clippers to LA, the Clippers couldn't even pack that stadium, that arena.
Right.
But Uncle Jam's Army packed that shit. But they used to have a club first on Crenshaw before that, so they went over there. So that whole era, World on Wheels, Uncle Jam's Army, that's the era for people in my generation that everybody from my generation should be able to tell you something about that. If somebody say they from my generation and you can't tell me nothing about Uncle Jam's Army, the origin of World on Wheels, when that shit started, fucking around up there, Reseda skating ring, all this shit, you really wasn't out there, bro. Because all this shit was going on, even in Compton, the Skateland USA, all this whole shit. So I come up in that era, bro. That's the era I come up in.
Right. So about what year do you say it was when you started, gang banging, hopped off the porch? About what year?
Well, I'm gonna be honest, bro. Okay, I started claiming the hood like in the 6th grade, and what we did was, me and the homies, the big homies was over here. They was Raymonds. They was over here on 102nd. So what we did, we formed our own little clique. We became the Baby Raymonds. So we hung on 104th from Prairie, right with Derry. At that time, that area over there was a lot of blacks. It was predominantly blacks. Now that area is predominantly Hispanic. All the blacks that stayed over there pretty much they moved out, and they didn't tore everything down. As you can see what they doing on 102nd now for the Clipper Arena. But, and in the 6th grade, I was claiming Baby Raymond Crip, right up. I didn't start fucking with and really active in the streets to like the high school years. You know what I mean? After like junior high school, I was claiming it, but I'm gonna keep real, I wasn't out there like that in junior high school. As I finished junior high school, I was claiming it though. You know what I mean? So that's the difference with gangbanging. You got people that was claiming. So I'll take you back to the 6th grade. I was claiming Raymond Crip in the 6th grade. But at that time though, we had our crew. We was getting into who we was getting into, just 6th graders.
Right.
My G homie, Big Nugget, was the yard teacher at our school at the time. So this is history, you know what I mean? But so I actually became more into the streets my high school years. That's when I really just started really getting into shit. That's when I started fucking up. But just like other people, a lot of other my homies was getting into stuff early because some of my other homies was going to YA in juvenile hall. I mean, going to juvenile hall and all that in junior high school. You know what I mean? But I didn't. I mean, I'm not that person gonna lie and say, yeah, I've been banging like turned up since I was a little. Nah, it's a difference. You was claiming. It's like little dudes right now in the 6th grade and the 5th grade claiming some hood right now. They just ain't turned it up yet.
Right, right.
As they get older, they gonna turn it up. And that's what I did. As I got older, boom, that's how it go.
So exactly about what year would you say it was when you just, was out there and turned it up?
More like 84.
84, okay.
Yeah, 83, 84, 88, more like 84, I started getting into shit. 84, I started back there. When I got to high school. I got to high school in 84.
Right.
So when I got to high school, that's when I started getting into stuff. That's when I started really drinking and smoking, doing more stuff. 83, I was just more like got into the girls, but I was still claiming, but it's like, okay, I'm from over here. It's always been a fad. Gangbanging always been a fad coming up out of LA. We always had a fad. We always claimed something, wherever we came from. We from over here. And then if you didn't claim something, you labeled because you lived over there. So just certain where you live. You from over there, okay, you labeled. But you didn't even have to never claim the hood, but you labeled. So a lot of times, bro, with a lot of people coming up gangbanging, society, our surrounding society,
right.
Our community, right?
Right.
Force people into being from this hood. Because like, okay, I live over here, but I don't bang.
Right.
But y'all keep chasing me home from school, trying to jump me, because I'm from over here. So at some point in time, fuck it, I'm with this.
So like basically, so sometimes you're gonna be from a certain hood by default, just by living over there. Right?
I know a lot of people like that, bro.
Right,
just
right.
like that, really.
Yeah.
And
so about what year do you say your gang banging and your street activities led you to the pen?
88, bro. I was I called my first case. I called it robbery, man. I was living in Linwood at the time over in the Palm Oak hood. I was living over there, and I called it robbery over there. And that was my first term. I got 2 years on that one. I was 18. That's where I got my D number. I got 2 years on there. I got out, and then I went right back. Okay, first one was a robbery, and then from there I caught my second case. I got out, stayed out like 89 days. I go back with 2 attempted murders. I get 6. I do 8 years. I do 6 off the 8, and then I tell you more later as we go into the interview.
Okay, so give us a little insight on what was it like for you when you hit the pen for the first time.
Oh, well, interesting. Good question. All right, so I was in the LA County Jail. For us at the time, when I was coming up, my generation, my big homies told us when I was still a juvenile, I was still going to LP, Los Padrinos Juvenile Hall. I was still going to LP. But the big homies was telling us when you go to prison, you go to the county, this is what you do. So I went to the county. First time I went at 17, got out. That was just something else. That wasn't nothing. That was minor. I didn't make it upstairs. I stayed in the tanks downstairs and got released. So then I went back when I was 18 on the robbery. And man, I'm the first out of my I'm one of the first out of my generation to go to the prison system. Everybody else went to YA. I didn't go to YA. So when I'm in the county jail. This is what the big homies was telling me. That's what I was getting to. This is what they was telling you. When you go in there, you go to the crip module. It's mandatory. You from Raymond, you go to the gang module. You got to go. At that time, the Raymonds was in 4700. We wasn't in 4800 no more. 4800 was still over there. 4800 pretty much had all the bigger hoods. They had like East Coasters, 60s, Comptons, Grape Streets, Hoovers, A-Trays. They was over there. Every other gang that I just didn't mention was pretty much in 47s. There was too many people there. But the bigger gangs pretty much was over there. They was dominating that over there. So all of the smaller gangs, they broke us down and put us on one half of 4700. And we was in 4700 only on Charlie and Baker Road. And then they had the other side. It was like the skinheads, white boys. So we could see them through a catwalk through there. But anyway, okay, so I leave the county jail. At the time, the Bloods was down the hall in 4300. That was all the Bloods went. At this time in LA County Jail, there was no Bloods on the main line. Bloods didn't go. Bloods went straight to 4300. It was pretty much hard. The Bloods that did try to make on the main line was like, damn, you know what I'm saying? Because it was just too many Crips at the time.
Right, it was just too outnumbered.
It was too outnumbered. And at the time, it wasn't all this racial stuff with the Southsiders in the county jail. LA County Jail, at that time, the Southsiders didn't pose a threat to the Crips or the Blacks the way they do things in there now. How they be, the way things changed. They didn't got deeper. But at this time, everybody on the main line said cuz. They might not even been a Crip. They just said cuz. So when Bloods got there and we get up to the 9,000 force, be like 9,500. And if you got on red shoes or anything red on, they see that coming to the county, they tell you to sit on the bench. So if you wasn't, unless you told them you was a Blood. So all the Crips was in 9,500, 9,300, all this 9,000 floor. And you'll see the Bloods over there, they getting escorted by OSS, which meant Operation Safe Streets. That's a gang module, gang unit in the county jail. Okay. So everybody come to LA County Jail, you affiliate, you got to see OSS. I think it's called OSJ or some shit like that now. So anyway, the Bloods was down the hall from us in 4,300. We in 47, 4,800. Now it's time to go to the pen. I catch the chain. At this time, coming up out of LA County Jail, we went to Chino. That was our reception center. Went to Chino. That's all we had was Chino. We didn't have Delano. We didn't have Tehachapi and all the rest of Wascos and all that.
Right.
So I catch the chain. It's me out of 4,700, some more Crips out of 4,800. There's a bunch of Bloods from 4,300.
Right.
So we all chained up like this, coming out the gang marshal. So we go away in tanks and all that. We load the bus and do all that shit, that process. We go to Chino. So now they at Chino, you get the docks. You been to Chino before?
Just passing through on the over.
Ride through,
yeah.
Okay.
Stay over.
Okay, so when you got there, you got off the bus on the docks. That's a dock in the back of Central. So you get off the bus, where they unload you at in Central, you're going to get off right there, and then where you did the layover at, you probably went in one of them halls up in Central somewhere. But anyway, I get there, they got us all in, and now they taking the chains off. We haven't been in contact with these Bloods at all. At this time, it was the Crips and Blood thing was on site. When we did get a chance to see each other, it was like really on site in the county.
Right.
It wasn't so much as the Crips, because a lot of Crips still coexisted in the same marshal, which is 1,400 and 4,700. So, Man, we there, bro. They take the chains off, and we go through this whole process. We got to strip out, the whole process and all this. Man, we sitting there, bro. All we got is towels on us and the little karate shoes. Like, we sitting there naked on these benches, waiting for them to give us our bedroll and fingerprint. All this shit sitting right on the benches. All these bloods just happen to be behind me, and they see my back. I got the hood on my back. They see this, and like, it didn't take long, man. We sitting there, and one of them just fired on me from the back of the head.
Right.
So it bing, and I'm like, oh. So instantly, everybody got on towels. We damn near naked. Right away, I'm trying to grab the towel, but as I'm trying to grab the towel, I'm taking. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so now I gotta respond because I'm like, so I dropped the towel. So now we slanging them up in here, ass naked, till they come in here and spray us and beat us and all that, separates that shit. So that was my first introduction to prison. The CEO told me, he said, man, welcome to prison. Because I got it's my hood. The homies did it for me before I left the county, and I was young. I was 18 in the crib monitor. So the big homies like, yeah, we finna brand you, cuz you finna go up in there, you finna represent. I was like, at first I was trying to get a hood tattoo. I was like, because I already had one on my wrist, but I didn't have nothing big. So I'm like, okay, I was finna put something right here, the back on everybody. A lot of my homies just got an RC. You see everybody from every hood got something on their back on, you know what I mean? And I was like, homies like, nah, I'm gonna hook you up with something. Big homies just blasted my back for me, just plucked it with the pen. So I'm like, okay, so I'm like, come on now. It's a trip because I started a trend. After I did it, other homies started doing the same shit on their back. But yeah, man, just sitting there, bro, and they just fired on me, homie. You know what I mean? And I just had to get down, man. I had to get down. We couldn't be trying to hold the towel and swing on one hand.
Right,
I wasn't doing that because I was trying to do that. These cats wasn't caring about that. They was like slanging them, and I was dang, catch them like that. But yeah, that was my first get down in prison. That was my introduction to prison right there, bro.
So did you end up doing your time at Chino?
Nah, I went from there. They move you around through Central. They put you in Sycamore and all that. Because they had, even back then, they had units in Chino that was predominantly Crips too at the time. So I went through there. Okay, they separated us and all that through the whole Palm Hall and all that. Then I ended up on the West Yard, and then I ended up on the Minimum Yard, and then I ended up going to Jamestown. So I did all my time in Jamestown. I ended up going to fire camp, and this was 1988. And I ended up going to fire camp, and that's why I did all my time in Jamestown until I went to a halfway house and parole.
So then you say when you got out, how long was you out before you caught those 2 attempted murders?
Like about 90 days.
Damn, so you got right out, got right back with the gang banging activities?
Yeah,
man.
Yeah, pretty much.
So then what was it like when you when you caught the 2 attempted murders and you go back to the county now, because LA County is notorious for, the gang banging activity and stuff, and especially back in the 80s. So was it wild up in there?
Yeah, man, when I went through there, let me see, I went back on that case. Okay, the first case I had, I got 2 years with halftime. So I did about 14 months off of that. About 14, I think like 14 months off of the 2-year sentence. So then I went from 88 and I got out in 89. So 89, I stayed out, like I say, about almost 90 days. Put like this, I paroled in May, I was back in August.
Right.
You know what I mean, for 2 attempted murders. So now I'm in here. It's like, man, gang banging, man, is so, I think, man, it's just, it runs so deep. It's so addicting, man. It's so controlling, bro. It's like, I'm just out here, man. This is like, I'm like 19 at the time, so I'm out here banging, bro. It's like, it's LA. We riding around, shit on your lap, just on site. Anything you see the opposite color, get off. You know what I mean? That's what we did.
Right.
And that's how I caught the 2 attempted murders. It's like on site. You see something, get off. You know what I mean? But at the same time, I was in a situation where some cats was trying to get off on us too. So it was me and my homie. We did our shit and got caught, and you know how the cycle go. And there's people telling on you, and that whole get out, understand. And that's the thing about it with gang banging. People out there shooting up shit and gang banging, but then the shit at the fan, and then you just got shot, but then you still got shot, but then you still got to understand. Where if you gang banging, you got shot, you ain't supposed to say nothing. You got shot, you don't go tell who did it. You just like, because I got shot up before. And that man asked me, who shot you? I don't know. I don't know nothing. I'm not going to say what hood did it. Even though I knew who did it, but I'm going to say nothing because that's how I was taught. You didn't do that. So at this time, I'm out here. I'm active, bro. You know what I mean? I'm 19. I'm active. I didn't have a care in the world. I just wanted to be active in the hood. You know what I mean? So that's what gangbanging was, bro. And that's what called me back. And I ended up getting 8 years. I took a deal. Compton Court, I took a deal, and for 8 years, I was facing, like, at the time, we was facing like 17 to life. You know what I mean? That's what they premeditated attempted murder carried 17 to life at the time. So me and my homie Bang, and we took a deal, and they threw everything on me. I got the most time, and went and did that shit. But then on that trip is when the growth started with me. The whole maturity started with me. You know what I mean? Understanding what being a man is about, and understanding what being that, okay, I come from this, but this is what I am now. This is when I first went to level 4 prisons.
Right. Well, let me ask you a question though, because you know, we always hear a lot of questions that you hear people say, "Oh, nah, man, they was really banging back there in the '80s. It was turned up." So people was still telling and stuff back then, huh?
Yeah. People been telling since the beginning of the time, man.
Right.
Yeah. But I think, yeah, bro, it's a trip because at this time when I caught this attempted murder, 2 attempted murders, on that case, that's when that time is when, for me and my generation, we start understanding telling more because we starting to see people that ran with us start telling.
Right.
Like, we didn't did this together. Start telling. 89.
Right.
At the time, Eazy-E was doing their shit, and Eazy had a verse on one of his songs, and now let the Alpine play. So we started saying, yeah, I didn't go with the Corey, let the Alpine play. We just saying shit like that. Now I'm talking, this is in the gang module, because I'm in the gang module at this time in 89. If I call my case, I'm in the gang module, 2700, Denver Road, and like all of us that was in there from Raymond, we was all in there for gang-related activities. We was so at the point to where homies that was coming in there for selling dope, we treated them different. Like, you niggas out there selling dope, nigga, we out there gangbanging. That was the truth. You know what I mean? We didn't give a fuck about selling. We sold dope a little bit to keep money and stuff that, but still, the most part, we was like, y'all doing this. And to me, that's gangbanging. That's what people understand about gangbanging. You got the people that's out there active who's really doing it.
Right. Who
carry this hood. You got the dudes who selling dope and stuff. They just sitting back riding around like, you know, I'm from this hood. You know what I mean? They don't understand. It's not what the hood do for you, it's what you do for the hood. And that always been my mentality, like, okay, we got to put in work. We got to keep putting in work. Somebody come through around the wall, we got to put in work. They do it, we got to put in work. I was raised by homies. My homie Big Nugget, and always raised me. It's like, you know, they pushed us, you know, you got to put in work. That's gangbanging.
Right.
So that was the mentality. And then when you had people that didn't put in work, that just, you know, sit in the cut, just got money, you know, a lot of time, them the ones we preyed on. You know what I mean? Every hood does that, and they still do it to this day. People is preying on the cats like, y'all ain't out there putting yourself on the line. We the ones catching bullets, letting bullets fly for this, and while you sitting back, you know, getting your money. You know what I mean? That's gang banging.
Right.
You know?
Well, let me ask you a question, okay? So, and that's what I was getting ready to ask you. So break down, in your opinion, what actual gang banging is.
Okay, I'm glad you asked that too, because I always tell people that. A lot of people don't get it, and they say, everything with gangbanging. This is what gangbanging is to me. This what influenced me to be a gang member from the beginning. First of all, let me say this. I was influenced by movies like The Warriors. A lot of cats in the younger generations influenced by Menace to Society, Boys in the Hood. I come at a time we had movies like The Warriors or Boulevard Nights, where I come up, even though I grew up on the west side, but my roots is on the east side. So I grew up in Watts, on that side of town. Everybody in my family before me is Bloods. So that's another reason I got so much connection to a lot of Bloods, because I got a lot of Bloods in my family.
Right.
And and to this day I deal with a lot of Bloods, you know, just over, you know, relationships we met in prison and so on, you know, sound like you know what I mean? But to me, gang banging is this, man. Representing this territory over here and doing something for this territory over here. This territory will not do nothing for you. You got to do it yourself. People think I'm from these blocks and you claim this hood. It don't work like that. However, you got some big hoods now that's so big now, so people can just jump on and be like, okay, I'm banging, I'm claiming this hood. You ain't really got to do nothing. It's easier for you. But when you from a smaller gang, when you got to constantly war, and you don't have thousands of members part of your gang, you got to be like, you got to stay at it. So what gangbanging consists of, to me, is, okay, not just the dress code, but when you gangbanging, part of gangbanging is striking up on the walls and shit like that. They call it tagging now. My generation, we call it striking up, because you got to keep the hood lit up. You got to let motherfuckers know this is where you at. And then you go in other people's hood, you whacking out wherever you do. People call it tagging. That's part of gangbanging. That's part of the culture. I mean, patrolling your hood, keeping your hood to where people know this is our hood. For everybody coming this section over here, you know this is my hood over here. That's part of gangbanging. That's gangbangers' responsibility to let people know this is our section over here.
Right.
And a lot of times they do that by striking up on the walls, hitting up. That's what we call it, like that. Just represent to the fullest wherever you at. Just like you banged out. It's like, okay, you see your enemies on sight, you get cracking. You know,
Right.
That's what they do because they don't get cracking on you. Just building the hood up, just adding to the hood. That's
Well,
what they, go ahead.
Let me ask you a question here, because I didn't seen, and I want your opinion on this. I didn't seen this scenario happen a couple of times, right? Say you got two dudes from the same hood.
Yeah.
One dude go out, he bust on somebody, he shoot somebody, he get away. They end up assuming the other dude who didn't have nothing to do with it was the culprit in the shooting. They arrest him. They take him to jail. Now the dude who didn't have nothing to do with it, who's sitting in jail, he wants his homeboy who did do it to come down and turn himself in.
Yeah.
What's your opinion on that?
Well, that's just a tricky situation, man. That's just part of gang banging, man.
Exactly.
That's part of gang banging, man. That's another thing people don't get. Everybody want to be a gang member because they see these YouTube and everything people posting out there, like it look fun, you throwing some sets and all this shit, this and this, whatever, all that shit, right? But you don't know, you be in situations like that. Because I know homies who didn't roll cases that they had nothing to do with. They didn't do it.
Right.
I know homies still doing life right now for something that they didn't do, that somebody else do, because they stay shitty, they didn't tell. But it's like, damn, what you gonna do? Man, come hey, man, come down and turn yourself in. He's not gonna do that.
Right.
I'm not gonna do that. I didn't knock somebody down. I'm not gonna turn myself in, bro. I mean, I hate you got caught up in that situation.
Right.
But I'm not finna go surrender and just like, okay, now my life, I'm trying to get away. I hate that you got caught. But that's how it goes.
And like you said, that's gang banging.
That's gang
that
banging.
come with the territory.
Come with the territory.
The same way one individual, you can go shoot at your enemies, they'll slide back through. You're not hanging out,
Yeah.
but they'll bust on your homeboy.
Yeah.
And that's what I tell cats. A lot of cats don't understand,
Yeah.
man. All that comes within the territory.
Yeah.
The main rule to gang banging, or at least one of them, is keeping quiet.
Yeah.
Not,
Yeah.
how can I expect you? Because me and you, we represent the same thing.
Yeah.
We share the good, we share the bad.
Right.
How can I expect you to come turn yourself in for a shooting when you shooting at your enemies, but your enemies are my enemies?
Yeah.
So it all comes with the territory. Yeah. So I'm just glad that you broke that down. And then so you said you got 8 years for 2 attempted murders.
Yeah.
Today that sentence is love, and a lot of people don't understand.
Yeah.
Back then, I'm pretty sure that was with halftime, right?
Yeah.
So it's really only 4 years for 2 attempted murders.
Exactly.
Man, a dude, I mean, nowadays, that's love, and that's what I tell cats that as crucial as they are now, the sentencing laws, So nowadays, man, for an attempted murder, you can get life.
Yes, I did. I eventually did, but yeah, at the time too, man. L.A. County, man. People that know L.A. County, all these different courts we got out there. Certain courts you gonna get love, at least at one time. I don't know what they like now. I'm not from Compton, though I lived in Compton a couple times, but I'm not from Compton. But all my convictions been in Compton Court, and that's because certain police stations send you to Compton Court. If you get caught at the police station Southeast, which is on 108th and Main, that's Compton Court. So my last 2 cases have been caught by LAPD. That's how I ended up going to Compton Court. And my first case was Linwood Sheriff's. That's how I go to Compton Court. So where my hood at, we don't really go to Compton Court unless you cross the street. If you're on that side of the hood, you cross Vermont, you get in the LAPD area. I think when you get down by Figueroa or something like that, LAPD patrol all around there. You can go there. So anyway, Compton Court was a court that was given up love in a sense back then, at that time.
Right.
So was CCB, which is the criminal court building. They was giving love. A lot of these other courts, Torrance and Norwalk and Long Beach and Pacoimas and all them courts, they was hanging motherfuckers. But Compton Court was getting love. So I was in Compton Court at the time. That was 1989, and I took a deal. I pleaded no contest. And they was trying to take us to court. They come to court on us. You know what I mean? But I'm like, they just took a deal. So we took a deal for no content, plead no content, and they came to help me. They came back to help me years later on another case.
Right. So now let me ask you. So when you go back on these 2 attempted murders, where do you go? What pen do you go now? Where do they send you to?
All right, on that case, I started at Tehachapi Reception Center. I went to Tehachapi. If you ever been to Tehachapi, Tehachapi got like building. They got like a mini 3-yard, a small 3-yard over here. They had the 1 and 2 yard to your left. Then 4A, 4B over there. But anyway, that was the reception to Tehachapi 3. So I went up in there, building 4, the bus let y'all. So I stayed to Tehachapi for the 90 days. And then from there, I went back to Jamestown. And my crime, I think he stayed in Tehachapi. So I go back to Jamestown. And, now I got 8 years. The first time I was in Jamestown, I was on level 2, 1 and 2 yard. I was in a dorm with the fire camp on the 1 yard, actually. I think it was called the Calaveras yard. This time I go back there, I'm on the 2 yard, which is the Mariposa yard. Now, Jamestown was like this. The 1 yard, the level 1 yard, which was the Calaveras yard, wasn't no Bloods on that yard. It was just all Crips and 415s, which is the up north cats. On the 2 yard, there was a whole bunch of Bloods, but there was a whole bunch of Crips too. So it was balanced over there. And then, of course, the level 3 yard was the same way. So the first time I went through there, I was at that point in my life, I was 18. I didn't have no understanding of talking to Bloods. I was still, the shit happened to me in Chino too. I'm like, we banged out. At this time, they actually had prisons in California where there was no Bloods. There was like prisons, they really had yards was all Crips. They really did like that. And you had certain prisons like, which was known for having a lot of Bloods, which was Soledad. Soledad was considered like a Blood headquarters at that time. But there was a lot of Crips there too, which I didn't know till later. But there was like a whole lot of Bloods there. And I think Salama was something like that. I don't know. But they had prisons where there was no Bloods back there. So anyway, I go back. Now I'm on the yard where there's Crips and Bloods at. Now I'm fresh off. I'm a new case. It's my second time in Jamestown. I'm on the Mariposa yard. I didn't want to be there. I got 8 years. I'm not finna do no dorm living, no 8 years. I can't do that shit. I'm like, nah, I'm finna jack my points up. I'm finna go to a level 3 yard and fuck that, I'm finna live in a cell this time. I don't want to do dorm living no more. I got too much time. So, by the way, I was trying to find me a victim anyway. So I got to get off on somebody. I'm gonna get off on somebody. I'm gonna go to the hole and I'm end up on another yard. That was my plan. So just so happened I went to laundry. I got there last night. Today I woke up. I went to laundry. I only knew 2 people on the yard. I had a homie on the yard, my homie Lil Bogart, and a homie from Park Village. I was in the dorm with me. So I go to the laundry. It's hot in Jamestown. I ain't got my shirt on. My back is showing. Everybody see you from Raymond, whatever. You know what I mean? But I already got an attitude because I don't want to be over here. So there was this Blood dude in front of me. And at this time, up north cats, they ran with Bloods all the time. And they ran around with these little black bands on their wrists all the time. They always wanted to be BGFs. They was BGF knockoffs, wannabes. A lot of them, because real BGFs don't build no damn level 1 and 2. You know what I mean? But that's what they wanted to be. So, yeah, I'll go over there, man. And anyway, I get into it, the Blood dude right there at the laundry window. And then I end up from there, go to the hole, and I end up from there on the level 3 yard, Jamestown.
So can you break down what it was like when you experienced your first riot, your prison riot?
It was actually, I ain't gonna lie, man, it was actually scary though, man, because you see all these people coming at y'all and you just gotta react.
So who was the riot involving?
Well, my first riot, of course, was with the Southsiders. You know what I mean? That shit didn't happen. You know, we didn't got into a little melee. We got into a melee in Jamestown too, my first term up there. We got into some shit up there. Then we got into some other stuff another time up there in Jamestown on the level 3 yard. So I done been involved in 3 riots in Jamestown with the Southsiders at the time, but a lot of times the last time it had something to do with some North Daniels, because some North Daniels was kicking it with us, and of course, that's how it went. But it was more so like, the first couple of riots I was in, they wasn't real bloody. It was really actually a lot of fighting. You know what I mean? And the first one in Jamestown, they shipped a whole bunch of people out. A lot of people got shipped out to either Susanville and other prisons from there. They shipped them out. They tried to separate us. They got shipped out. I didn't get sent out. They broke some down, some went this way. But it was more so, man, just like the fact that, it kind of reminded me of some high school stuff. I ain't gonna lie. It kind of reminded me of something like a high school fight on the football field. That's what remind you playing football and if you ever play like, we used to play a lot of Pop Warner. I mean, not Pop Warner, but just put together games and stuff like that. So sometimes, motherfuckers get into it, and especially you got hood games playing stuff like that. But anyway, it reminded me of something like that because everybody fighting. You know what I mean? Everybody fighting. They come and trying to restrain order. So, but that time, it just happened to be one of them ones where nobody really got bust on. You know what I mean? At that time.
Well, can you recall like what it was about, what initiated it, what kicked it off?
Nah, it was something. I think one time we got into it with them in Jamestown. I think it was something behind the homie Les from Nutty Block. Big homie Les from Nutty Block. Something happened with him, and he was a spokesperson. Something happened, but that's the thing about it. If it's like, especially when you're young, I'm in there and I'm not in touch. At the time. Right. I wasn't involved in politics. I wasn't talking to these older heads. I don't know what the hell was going on. It just something happened. It's just because you that color, and then it just go up. You know what I mean? You just gotta. You know what I mean?
Off and you just ride.
And then, oh no, before that, but you in the county. That's where it started at first. My bad. Wayside the first. Before I even got to the prison, I went through a Wayside ride before. Yep, Wayside ride. Wayside is always something. And with the Southsiders is like it's a control thing. You know, they don't want us to do this. They don't want to do that. And then a lot of times I learned over the years, man, that with them and the prison rides and with us, LA County in particular, because you got all these different blacks that's coming that's not affiliated. You got all these blacks that's homeless, that's out there as dope fiends. They'll come in and do something stupid, and just because they black, they go up. You know what I mean? Well, I could have had a report with dude, but his older heads say, that's what we got to do. Right. So shit like that happened, man.
So let me ask you, okay, what was like some of the things? So the Southerners was trying to push a line on y'all in the county jail, telling y'all what y'all could do and what y'all can't do.
Well, they do that. They'll do that, man. When they numbers go up, when they numbers start going up in Wayside, they want to separate. They want we over here, y'all over here. Y'all don't use our toilet, we don't use y'all toilet. Stuff like that. Don't piss in this. You know what I mean? Then you get some people, you're dealing with homeless people. For some reason, man, it seems like all the Mexicans, all the Southern Mexicans that go to jail is gang related. That's what it seemed like. Then you got a lot of blacks that's not. Right. So then we dealing with a whole bunch of civilians, and you got the Crips and the Bloods just trying to stick together, and then that's how we end up being outnumbered. Like, cause you got, come on, man, this is like it's like my pops in the county. I've been in the county with quite a few of my uncles. You know what I mean? And I can imagine probably what they did if something like that happened. So I'm like, okay, everybody in here, man, ain't with that. A lot of these dudes ain't fighters. A lot of these dudes ain't with the shits. A lot of these dudes is really gonna tuck and roll, and they black. Right. You know what I mean? They don't bang or none of that. And we get caught with a lot of that, and it'd be like, okay, it'd be times like, okay, out of all these blacks, you got like 8 gang members in here. That's it. And you might got like 1 blood, and like the rest Crips, or the vice versa. But then you might have some non-affiliated dudes that's gonna ride. Most of them like, man, we ain't with that shit. And then it'd be the Crips and the Bloods who catch it.
Right.
All
so
the time.
They want to hold you guys accountable for the actions of every black up in there. And some of the blacks up in there is just not necessarily well versed in the rules of the do's and the don'ts of jail, basically.
Basically.